I'm ready to go back, he said, as soon as I get a ship. So are the rest of the boys who were on the Wasp. We want to get in the fight and help finish it. That's the flag of unfailing endurance. And this flag took my father back across the Pacific to other battles, where he once again survived the sinking of another aircraft carrier he was on, the USS Princeton, in the Battle of Leyte Gulf on October 24th, 1944. Hundreds of men died that day. In fact, in one violent explosion of a magazine aboard the Princeton, 649 men were killed or wounded in a single instant on just one cruiser that had come alongside the Princeton to help fight its battles, the USS Birmingham. 649 men in a single instant. And yet there were more battles to be fought and more sacrifices to be endured. The battle for Leyte Island with 13,500 American casualties. The Battle of the Bulge with 89,987 American casualties. The battle for Iwo Jima with 27,909 American casualties. The battle for Okinawa with 51,429 American casualties. Thank God that the American people of that day and that generation were willing to hold high the flags of willing sacrifice and unfailing endurance. And may we be willing in our generation and in our day to hold high this same flag of unfailing endurance. For we are in a long twilight struggle with the forces of tyranny and terrorism. There will be, as there should be, public discourse and debate on when and where and how we should engage in this struggle. But we best honor those veterans we remember today if we will engage in this discourse with civility, with mutual respect, with love for country, love for our fellow countrymen, and with a oneness of heart that we will endure in this long struggle no matter what the cost. So intimate is the peril, so great is the threat, that freedom as we know it will only endure on the face of this earth if we are willing as free people to endure in this long struggle. The flag of unfailing endurance. And the third flag that will always fly for my father's service to his country is the flag of courageous faith. In 1950, shortly after my mother gave birth to her and my father's first child, my sister, the armies of North Korea swept into South Korea and began to overwhelm that young nation. The ship that my father was stationed on at the time, another aircraft carrier appropriately named the USS Philippine Sea, quickly left its home port of San Diego, bound for Korea. It was while my father was there, 8,000 miles away, that my sister took her first steps, spoke her first words. My father returned home for just a short time from Korea, just long enough for he and my mother to conceive me, a return trip for which I'll always be thankful for. And just long enough for my father to be transferred to another ship, the destroyer escort, USS McGinty, before my father and mother even knew that a baby was on the way. My father was sailing back across the Pacific to Korea. There he remained, returning to my mother's arms less than a week before I was born. Courageous faith was required. And many years later, after my mother died, I found something in her Bible, something from those days when my father was in Korea. It is a picture of the Savior Jesus, sent to my mother from her mother in faraway Pennsylvania. And here's what my grandmother wrote to my mother while she was waiting for my father in Hawaii. This, dear, is our beloved Savior. Look closely and see how the lines of suffering are etched there. May he strengthen you and the wee one on its way, and your beloved husband. Have faith. I know you do. All my love, your mom. December 22nd, 1951, 3:30 a.m. The flag of courageous faith. All of us come from different faith traditions. It's one of the wonderful things about the United States of America. We are e pluribus unum, out of many one. But no matter what our faith tradition may be, may we never forget what our founding fathers knew and remembered, that we are meant to be one nation under God. They affirmed this by mentioning God in both the first and second sentences of the Declaration of Independence, and closed that declaration with these words, "And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance upon divine providence, we pledge to one another our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." While there is a place for an appropriate separation of church and state in our nation, may each one of us individually and all of us together as the people of the United States of America never, ever replace the flag of a courageous faith with the flag of a sterile and self-sufficient secularism, for this will yield only bitter fruit for our nation. The flag of willing sacrifice, the flag of unfailing endurance, the flag of courageous faith. And the fourth and final lesson that will always fly from the mast of my father's service to his country is the flag of the harder right instead of the easier wrong. As the West Point Cadet Prayer says, make us to choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong. After my father returned from Korea in 1952, the next 16 years of his military service took him to many places, including a tour of duty off Vietnam on another aircraft carrier, the helicopter carrier USS Iwo Jima. On my father's memorial marker at Fort Rosecrans are listed 3 wars that he fought in: World War II, Korea, Vietnam. But there is a 4th war that my father fought in. It is a war that many of our veterans who are here today also fought in. That war was the Cold War. And for those who fought in that war, there were no ticker tape parades. There were no full spreads in magazines. There were no television specials and stickers on the back of automobiles that said, "We support our troops." But for those who fought in this war, there was noble service. And hundreds of millions of people around the world who are free today would not be free if they had not fought that war. Thank God that they and their families were willing to choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong. And I want to underscore those words, and their families, because when we honor those veterans who have served our nation, we ought also to honor their families, for they too have held high the flags of willing sacrifice, unfailing endurance, courageous faith, and the harder right instead of the easier wrong. A few years ago, I was looking through some old boxes and I came across an old tattered envelope. When I opened up the envelope, out fell from